Let us pay homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Let us take the three refuges. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami. Okay, we shall now chant the verses to observe the 5 precepts. Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Adinadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Kamesu miccācara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musavada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Sura meraya majja pamadatthana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Dear Dhamma brothers and sisters, welcome to another session of our Sunday service. Today, we are very honored to have Venerable Faxun to give us a talk entitled Guan Yin, Bodhisattva and Compassion. Let me share Venerable's bio. Venerable Faxun was ordained in Taiwan in 1992 by Venerable Wu Yin of Luminary of Bhikkhuni Sangha. She has also completed a Bachelor of Arts degree and an education degree at the University of Western Australia, majoring in linguistics and Asian studies, and has also completed an honours degree with a thesis entitled The Other Path, the Bhikkhuni Quest for Liberation. She has also taught in Singapore, Malaysia and Western Australia. And so, without further ado, I'm very proud to warmly welcome Venerable Faxun to give us this morning's talk.
Good morning, everybody. Now is COVID-19, so we have entered now what we call the new normal, where our Dhamma talk has bring to virtual, right? So my topic today is Guan Yin Bodhisattva and compassion. So for those Chinese or those born in East Asia, you'll notice that this noble figure plays a very important role in East Asia. In the Chinese, we have this verse saying that 家家观世音. That means every family has a Guan Yin Bodhisattva, right? So you'll notice that in most Chinese family, even though they are Buddhist, right? The altar at home might not be Sakyamuni Buddha, but rather is Guan Yin. And even those who are not Buddhist, also their home have a Bodhisattva statue, right? And then you also see Guan Yin being practiced in Japan, in Vietnam, in Korea, right? Particularly the East Asia. So this is a figure which is most of us is very familiar with. So and it is also a symbol of compassion. So let's take a look. What does this Guan Yin is? In Sanskrit is Avalokiteshvara, but then when it's translated into Chinese, it's known as Guan Yin. Right? So Guan means like seeing, sensing, observing, or perceiving. Right? Shi means what? 世界, the world. Then yin means sound. So this is being a bodhisattva that perceive the world's sound and then look upon the world with compassion, with deep listening. Right. So basically, this is what the name when we translate from Sanskrit into Mandarin. This is what it means. Right. Then now let's take a look at this sutta. There's this sutta known as the Lotus Sutta. Then in this Lotus Sutta, chapter 25, they discuss about Guan Yin, who is she, and then how she practiced. Right. So in this Lotus Sutta, hang on, it's not here. Let me go to another slides. Okay, so in this Universal Gate chapter, right, 25th chapter of the Lotus Sutta. So in this sutta, it was mentioned that there's this Bodhisattva. He asked the Buddha, for what reason is Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara named Avalokiteshvara, right? How she derived her name. So, and then this is what the Buddha says. He says that when they are sentient beings, right? When sentient beings experience suffering, and then she sincerely, right, chant the name of this Bodhisattva, Avalokiteshvara, will immediately perceive the voice and free them from suffering, right? So this is basically how she derived this name, right? That this is her quality. She's always standing there, looking upon the world, the suffering world, and listening to the voices of the sentient beings, and then helping the sentient beings, right? So she is a symbol of compassion. So that's how she got her name. Okay, so now let's take a look at this slide, right? Which now, if you look at the if you Google, you go and Google your handphone and do a Google search, and you click Guan Yin in Sanskrit, you will come out this word Avalokiteshvara spelled in A, right? But then when in the early days, this Avalokiteshvara was spelled with an E. So there is a great difference, right? Although in if we look at it, C as English, a different alphabet A and E, but in terms of the meaning, it has a great difference, right? So awa means what? Down or look down, okay? Lokka, right? Lokka means the world, okay? Then this one we spelled with an E means the Lord, the ruler. Whereas the one they spelled with A means the sound of lamentation. So when I was doing my research in my university, one of my lecturer, he knows Sanskrit, right? So I was just curious. I just want to find out, what does Avalokiteshvara, when you break into Chinese, which word stands for Guan, which word stands for Yin, and which stands for Guan, which one stands for Si, and which one stands for Yin. So I showed him this word and asked him to break it down for me. Yeah, so the one that spelled with an E. So he says that the lords that gaze down at the world, which I find is very, very funny, because as we know, Guan Yin is a bodhisattva, right? It is not the God, it is not the Lord. So could Kumaragyopa make a wrong translation, right? So this sutta was translated by this Kumaragyopa, whom I have great respect and great faith in. Right? He did many translations. Many of the Chinese Mahayanese texts was translated by him, and his translation was very accurate. Right? His word is acknowledged by even modern linguists who know Sanskrit and Chinese, and says that his translation is very accurate. And then also when Kumaragyopa, when he passed away, after the body was cremated, his tongue was not burnt away. And he did say that whatever he translates, whatever he says, everything is in accordance to what the Buddha said, right? So his tongue really shows that what he translates, what he says is so true. So I have a great faith there. So how could Guan Yin become a Lord who gazed down at the world? So Kumaragyopa couldn't have made such a great mistake. And then it is when you compare this with the Chinese word Guan Yin, is very different. So I went on to do a research. And then this is what happened, right? We look at the time frame, right? So Kumaragyopa was born in the 4th century. So in the 5th, this the 𝐈𝐍𝐾𝐾𝐾𝐾 that spelled with an A, right? The original Guan Yin, right? Spelled with an A, appeared in the 5th century. Whilst the 𝐈𝐍𝐾𝐾𝐾 that spelled with an E, which means the Lord that looks upon the world, appeared in 7th century, right? So that means this one comes first. And then if you look at the time frame, at this time, Buddhism began to decline in India, and then the Hindu influence begins to become stronger. So then later they inserted this in, and then Guan Yin becomes a Lord, right? But if you go back to the Buddhist text and really understand Buddhism, right, it is this, right? So Āvālokitesvara, right? So he who looks down on the world upon the Christ of sentient beings, okay? So does it matter when you spell with an E and you spell with an A, right? So it really matters, right? So even though if you Google on your phone now, you find that it's all spelled with an E, but really the correct one should be A, because I think because Buddhism has died off, right, after the Muslim invasion, it dies off in India for quite some time. So with the Hindu influence, it has been spelled with an E, right? But if you look at the history, you go and do the research, it's supposed to spell with an A, right? So it does make a great difference, right, when it's spelled with an E, with an A. So I remember there was once I met a Sri Lankan monk, and then I was trying to discuss with him his idea about Guan Yin Bodhisattva, and he was very angry. He says that Buddhism don't believe in God, and then why Guan Yin was a God, and then we pray to God and things like this. But really, if you know it well enough, you know that Guan Yin Bodhisattva, it means, right, is a bodhisattva, it is not a god, right? So yeah, so for those who knows a little bit of Pali and Sanskrit, and if you happen to do the Google and you search, right, so the different spelling means different thing, and then we must know Guan Yin is certainly not a god, but rather Guan Yin is a bodhisattva. Okay, so what do we mean by bodhisattva? Right, the word bodhisattva, Mahayanese Buddhism, we use them very often. Pusa. What do we mean by Pusa? Right, Pusa it is a being, right, who has strong courage, and then who has get rid of their defilements, and they are the one very spontaneous and very courageously always working for the benefits of all sentient beings. Right? So in Chinese, 菩萨不为自己求安乐，但愿众生得离苦。Right? They don't work for their own selfish benefits, but rather they work for all sentient beings. Right? So this is what this Guan Yin, this Bodhisattva means. Right? So all Bodhisattva, they have great compassion, they have great wisdom. And then this Guan Yin is very, very unique because she's famous. Everybody knows when we say Guan Yin, we know she's compassionate. So in Chinese, we say 南无大悲观世音菩萨, right? So then in Chinese, when we say 慈悲, they always come 慈 and 悲, metta and karuna always comes together, right? So 慈悲. So then we have to really understand what does 慈悲means. Right? So I think most Buddhists, when we say we practice loving kindness and compassion, and when we see Guan Yin, we always see Guan Yin as a female figure wearing the white robe. Right? And then, so let me show you another slide. Okay. 愤怒相, right? So it says you see this this is a very popular figure known as the 1,000 hand, 1,000 arm Guan Yin Bodhisattva, and then with 11 heads, right? And then one of the head here you can see it looks very furious, right? So the question is, if Guan Yin Bodhisattva is compassionate, then why he looks furious? Okay, so here then we have to really come back to the concept of compassion. For most of us, we see compassion as somebody who is being kind, being gentle, but don't see compassion in such a way, right? This couldn't be compassion. But when you go a step further, right, it is very profound. That means you can look very furious, right? You can play the role of a bad guy, but then deep inside you are being compassionate. Okay, so there is this idea. All right, so let's bring this back down to our day-to-day life. I remember there was once when I was giving a talk in Malaysia, and then one of the audience raised their hand and asked me the question. So he says, 师父, how can I be compassionate when I am a teacher? So how can I be compassionate when my students are being naughty, that I have to scold them? So my answer to her is, it is exactly that you are compassionate. That's why you have to show this furious face. So compassion doesn't mean you have to be soft, gentle, milk, very nice, like the Guan Yin in the soft, in the white robe, so soft and gentle. No. Sometimes in order to help sentient beings, right, you have to so-called play the role of the bad guy. Right? It's easy for us to play the role of a good guy, to be nice and gentle, but it's not easy to play a role like this. But sometimes it is because you're compassionate, right? So for those who are teachers, when your children are naughty, when the students are naughty, or if you are a parent, when your children are naughty, sometimes you have to show a face like this. But deep inside, it is not out of anger, but out of compassion, because you want to educate them. Right. So here it's very subtle, right? If you show your face like this out of angle, that is not compassion, right? But sometimes because because of the sentient beings, like certain children, you cannot, in order, they need you to show this face in order to learn. Then you have to play this role. So in this 𝐸𝐸𝐸, the Universal Gate chapter, right? So there is paragraph here which is very interesting. It says that if there is any land where sentient beings are to be saved by the form of what? Naga or Yaksha or Gandhara or Asura, then Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara teaches the Dhamma by changing himself into the form of what? If the person needs, if I need to play the role of Naga, I appear as Naga. If I need to play the role of Yaksa in order to help you, I have to play the role of Yaksa, right? So this is what we call skillful means. So when we want to help sentient beings, we need to check what does this sentient beings mean. What role? How do I play? How do I help this person? So sometimes I got to play the role of the bad guy in order to help the other person. Okay. So just to share with you, when I was in the Buddhist college, I am the first and only foreigner when I go there in 1992. So all the while, there are only Taiwanese nuns study in that college. So I became the first foreigner nun to study there. Of course, it was very tough for me. Right? I'm English educated, I'm not Chinese educated. Then I went to Taiwan and spent 5 years in an environment where it's all Chinese speaking, and then the Chinese text, they don't use a simplified text, they use the traditional text, and then all the Chinese scriptures, the language there were quite ancient, right? So it was rather tough for me, and I became very, very reliant on my classmates, and also my classmate helps me a lot. So much so that it becomes an obstruction to my study and progress. So there was once we were asked to do a certain project, to do certain research, and I came to find out one of my senior nuns, who is also our teacher, went to tell my classmate, right, and told them when Faxun asked for help, don't help her. And it sounds quite harsh, isn't it? Not helping a person seems very not kind, not compassion. But really, the reason she gave is she told my classmate. She says that Faxun is being too reliant, and they'll help her too much, and that is not going to help her. Instead, it's going to be an obstruction. So my teacher want me to really learn, to grow, and to be more independent. So by not helping me, I got no choice. I got to go and find the answer myself, right? So that is the idea, you know. So sometimes when we talk about love and compassion, we might understood it wrongly, thinking that love and compassion is always out to help without wisdom. So sometimes when we practice compassion without wisdom, we end up with Chinese called 烂慈悲, idiot compassion. Right? So truly, in Buddhism, when we say compassion, there is always an element of wisdom. Right? So compassion and wisdom, both of them, they must fuse together, come together, then we are able to help sentient beings. So if you just help people without wisdom, so sometimes you might not do the, you're helping the other person, but you might not do any good to the other person, right? So we call that idiot, compassion. Right? So it's very important when we practice compassion, we got to bring in our wisdom, we got to check what the other party need and what sort of methods, how do I go about helping the other party. So then the other thing is, I think, how do we bring compassion, and then how do we practice compassion at home? And as a parents, how do we go about helping our young children to practice and develop compassion? Okay, so again, to share my experience with you, there was once I was teaching at Sagaramudra Buddhist Society. I was teaching the Sunday schools. So we know that young children, they are the one who always receive love and compassion from the parents, right? Or from adults, from teachers. So inside my heart, I was thinking, how do I teach young children compassion? And then how do I teach the young children to put this concept of compassion into the family, into the day-to-day life? So I give them homework. I told them, you could help the daddy and mommy, right? So after you finish your meal, you can wash your own dishes and your own cutlery. So they are a group of primary 3 and primary 4 students, and I find that they are old enough to do the job. And then I also create a logbook, a checklist for them to do. So when they have finished so-called their homework, they take it. So the next week when they come back, I check the logbook, and one of the girls didn't do the homework. So I spoke to her privately. I asked her why she didn't do the homework, what stops her from doing so, what problems she faced. And her answer to me was, "Mommy 说给妹做." Right? The mommy said, "Don't do it, let the maid do it." Right? So I think to the mommy, they love the girl, and so they want the maid to do it for the girl, right? So the question here is, in Chinese, Chinese word is very interesting, very how to say, specific. So in Chinese, 爱跟溺爱 is different, right? So 爱 means you love your child. 溺爱 is you spoil your child. Right? So if you love your child without wisdom, so it appears as if you love the child, but sometimes if you are not mindful, you are not careful, you might end up spoiling the child rather than loving your child. So for this mommy, I call the mommy, and I have a counsel, I have a chat with her. I told her, I said, "Do you know that I'm teaching your little girl to practice love and compassion at home, to be part of this family, to contribute to this family, and also to help you, right, to practice love by helping to wash the dishes and the cutlery." Right? She's old enough to do it. So if you don't allow her to do, you don't give her the opportunity to practice, and then she never learn it. And then when she gets old, she never do housework. Right? And then by then, don't complain. I hear many mothers complain. 哎呀，我孩子没有用啊，什么都不会做，只会玩手机啊。Most parents will complain, right? My child don't do housework, they are always hooked and stuck onto the handphone. But sometimes, very unconsciously, we are the one who encourage that. Yeah, so I think practice love and compassion, practice at home, starts from home. And then as a mother, we really got to think very deeply when we say we love the child, how we want your child to practice love and compassion, and how you could give an opportunity for your little child to practice. Yeah, and then also I find that when it comes to Dhamma centers. Sometimes the Dhamma teachers also me, I, not I, okay? They, I find that in our Singapore culture, we are very kiasu, and then we want everything to be perfect. So much so that we deprive our children from learning, right? Again, to share with you another example. When I was running camp in Malaysia, sometimes I go to states that is further away from Kuala Lumpur, the main city. So the further away I go, I find that the children, they know how to live. Okay, so when I remember there was once I was running a camp at CTR1, very north of Perak. So the children were divided into groups. Then each group, they will have primary 1 up to primary 6 students. So when it comes to meal time, the primary ones will go and get the cups, plastic cups, and then the older one will pour the water. And then the P3s and P4s, they can do the washing of the cutlery and then sweeping of the floor. Then the P5, P6 will lay the table, will set up the table, will wash the dishes, which I find is very good, right? They learn how to live in a community, they know how to share the job and take care of each other. So when I came back to Singapore, I really wanted to introduce this and want our children to learn this, especially during the school holiday camps. Is a good opportunity for the children to come to the temples and Dhamma centers where they can do things like this. So there, I think it was last year. Yeah, last year I did a camp at Taipei Buddhist Center. So I was sharing with the teachers. I said, look, when we do this camp, I really want the children to learn, to grow, right? So when we say we love the children, not that it doesn't mean you got to do everything for the children, right? So we want our children to learn, to grow. So I want the children to have more hands-on. So when it comes to meal time, I think I want the children to prepare their own meals. And I think when the children prepare their own meals, they are in touch with the food, there seems to be more love in it. So, but then the teachers, they all got so worried. They say that one of the teacher in charge came to me and said, Suku, recently there's a lot of food poisoning in schools. I'm a bit concerned you let the children touch the food. So I say, my answer to her there is that, well, if let's say the children, you're worried about food poisoning, the thing we should be doing is to be very careful on how we handle the food. Make sure it's clean, make sure that the children wash their hand and handle the food. Yeah, so I was quite insistent that the children handle the food, and end up, there's no food poisoning, right? And the children tends to be seems to be very happy that they have a sense of their self-esteem is better because they do everything themselves. They prepare. So what we did is we do sandwich. We have things like we do sandwich. So I asked the auntie to fry the stuff and then to cut the veggie, and then the children just assemble the sandwich, and we do things like wraps, and they really enjoy it, right? So instead of everything is given to them, right, now is they contribute, so they have a more so-called grounded sense, a sense of worth that they can do it themselves. So that's it. Then after the meals, I also want the children to wash their own dishes. Okay, the children were asked to bring their own lunch box. So and then first day they took back their lunch box to wash. So second day, I told the teacher, I said, no, I want the children to wash their own lunch box. Then again, our Sunday school teachers, right, very careful and also too much love without wisdom. And then they were telling me, say, Sư, I don't think the children will wash their own boxes. They say, Sư, what if the children don't wash the box? They end up playing water and then they fall down. How? I said, fall down, then fall down lah. As long as they don't fracture their arm, don't fracture their leg, it's okay ma. They say, then they learn ma. They learn if they fall down, then they learn. So again, I insist that the children wash their own lunch box. So day 2, they wash their own lunch box, and then like what the teacher said, true enough, they didn't. The first group went down to do the washing. They were playing the water. Right? They were playing the water. They are not serious. They didn't wash the lunch box. And one of the students said that, 哎呀，不用洗啦，拿回家，妈咪会洗的啦，妹会洗的啦。Right? That was a P4 or P5 student said that. So the teacher ran to me and told me that. And when this group came back, I really scolded them. Right? So I was really very furious. Right? Like what you see just now, that picture, very fierce, very furious. Not that I'm angry, but out of compassion, that I wanted to really teach the children a lesson. So I sort of raised my voice and shouted at them and said, is that how you show your love to your mommy? So during Mother's Day, you all know how to make cards, yeah? And say Happy Mother's Day, right? So your love to your mommy is only one day, only Mother's Day. Right? So normal days, no need mothers, no need to show love, is that? So, and then I wanted them to bring out the boxes, and I told them, I said, the auntie told me that this was mentioned while you were washing the boxes. So is that how you show your love to your mommy? Right. So I want you to bring out all your boxes, and I check the boxes. Right. And I really touch and feel the boxes, and I get them all to wash the boxes again. Right, the lunch boxes again. And then from there, it's a very good teaching opportunity, right, to teach the children, what do you mean by love? Love your mommy, right? Love your mommy doesn't mean making a Mother's Day card, but rather really in everyday life, right? By washing your dishes, by washing your box, you lighten the burden. You love your daddy and your mommy, right? So I think this is something most parents might neglect. So while we talk that we love the children, we try to do everything for them that is being loved. But sometimes if we are not mindful, we are not careful, we might end up spoiling the child rather than teaching them. Yeah? So this is something as a parent, right, as an adult, that we need to really understand what do you mean by love and compassion, right? So if we just take this word for granted and not really reflect on them and not reflecting how do we practice in our day-to-day life, sometimes we really end up with a lot of idiot compassion. So we are not doing any good toward the children, right? So there was another occasion. I was teaching 5 precepts, right? So one student asked me, says that, Supu, if I need money, right, and I know that there is money in my children's bank account, so can I use that money? Use my children's money? Is that considered stealing? So yeah, I think with COVID now, there's a lot of changes. So some of you might face financially, you might be very tight, and then you might need to use the money in your children's bank account. So is it okay? Can we take the money from the children's account, and by doing that, is there stealing? So in fact, I throw the question back to my class and get them to divide into groups and discuss, right? And very interestingly, there's one lady who came up to me. She said, no matter how, I will not use my children's money. Then I say that, but if you really need the money and your children have it, what would you say to your child? Then this lady says that I will tell my child, I will use your money, then I will pay you back. How much interest the bank charge, I will pay exactly the same. Then another student will say, wow, 师父, this mother very good. You know, she know how to teach the child financial management. The child will grow up to be very good, know how to manage the finance. So inside my heart, what? And now, if you are a mother, if the mother, right, if the parents needs the money and you being the child have the money, you are not going to help your mother who give birth to you, who brings you up, gives you education, everything. Now your mother, your father needs the money. You're not going to take the money out and help them. Instead, you are going to charge them interest. Where is the love? Where is the love and compassion in the family? So by doing so, by the mother, by saying that, when he takes the money from the child and he tells the child, whatever the bank pays, whatever the bank charge, the interest, I'm going to pay you exactly the same. So it's not the mother, isn't the mother teaching the child to be not calculative towards the mother, right? So sometimes if we are not careful, we might end up teaching our children the wrong thing. While you think that you are being very responsible, you don't use your child's money. Yeah, so I think, and then I told the mother, I said, what about you tell your child that you're part of the family? So look, the family is in need of money. Can you take out your money and help the family? Yeah, so so my point that I'm trying to make is we really need to really think very deeply. What do you mean by love and compassion? So if we do not understand this love and compassion, and then sometimes we might give too much love to the extent of spoiling the child, right? And then sometimes when we want to teach the child, right, you might appear to be not compassionate, just like the one that we have a furious face. You have to play the role of the bad guy, but playing the role of a bad guy with a kind heart. Right? So that doesn't mean that you're not compassionate. Right? Sometimes it's exactly you are being compassionate that you have to play the role of the bad guy. So again, to give you another example, there was once I was running a camp. All right, so the auntie cooked something very delicious. And this camp, when we have our meal, is buffet style. So we know kids, when it's something very nice, they will take a lot. Right? So of course, when they take too much, they cannot finish. Right? And I see in hawker centers, when the kids cannot finish the food, most of the time, the parents will help to finish the food. And then if they cannot finish the food, they will just throw away. Right? So if we continue to practice like this, are we not teaching our child to waste food? Very unmindfully, very unconsciously, sometimes our actions speaks louder than words, right? And then we teach them to waste food most of the time. So when they come to the camp, so what I did was, I didn't school them, right? But I just turn into action. I just make them be responsible. So when this particular child, he took a lot and he couldn't finish. So I told them, I say that, well, I'm not your daddy, I'm not your mommy. And there are so many children here, I couldn't possibly be eating all the food that you couldn't finish. So you have to be responsible for your action. So whatever food you take, you have to finish it. So all right, I will just sit here and wait. So I get all the camp members to sit quietly and let those who have not finished the food, give them more time to finish the food. I'm using the tactics of social pressure. So we waited, right? So when we educate the child, sometimes we give time, right, to yourself and also to the children. So we just sit there and waited. So of course, that child cannot finish. They cannot finish. So I say, okay, don't force yourself. If you really cannot finish the food, it's okay. So now it's a very good teachable moment, right? So I told them, so next time when you take your food, right, you have to assess your tummy, how much your tummy can take, right? And you have to be very responsible, right? Whatever you take, you finish them. If you cannot take, if your tummy cannot take in so many food, you don't take so much. I rather you take a little bit, and then if you find that not enough, you go for the second serving. So for those who didn't finish the food, I say it's okay. Now I will write your name. I put those remainder in the container, and I say I will write your name there. Then tonight at dinner, you're going to continue with the food. I have to play the role of the bad guy. Actually, I can easily throw away the food, and then for the next meal, the auntie just cook everything new. Right? But because I want to educate the child, right, out of love and compassion, I want the children to not waste food. I want the children to learn to be responsible. So I went to the kitchen and told auntie, I say, auntie, 你们辛苦一点. So you warm up boxes by boxes. There are not many, just a few. So I say, I also told the auntie, it's easy for us to throw away and then cook new food. It doesn't cost a lot. In terms of dollars and cents, it doesn't cost a lot. But I told auntie, but in order to educate the children, right, I have to do this. Right. Then some of the teachers were a bit worried. I said, don't worry. If the parents' complaint comes to me, I back you up. I will tell the parents, I'm teaching your child to be responsible for their action. So I'm not asking your child to eat spoiled food. I'm not asking your child to eat overnight food. It's the food that that we did warm the food, right, from the lunch, the leftover lunch, we warmed it up, right? So and then the next day, right, when they were going for the food, children, they learn very fast, right? So when the auntie tried to serve them, the children will tell the auntie, 你不要给我这么多, right? And then when they go home, they also educate the mummy, right? So one of the mummy came back and told me, it says that when she's trying to scoop the food for the boy, the boy said, 妈咪你不要拿这么多给我. Mommy, you don't give me too much. When not enough, I will go for second serving. So I say, don't waste food. So the mommy was very shocked. How come the boy after the camp say things like this? Then the mommy asked, 谁教你的？师父教我的。那the mommy came back and thanked me. Yeah. So sometimes, right? If you know this concept of so-called compassion well, and really think deeply, what do we mean by compassion? Compassion doesn't mean you have to be sweet, gentle, kind, right? Sometimes, in order to help our children to grow, right, you really need to observe what is needed. If you need to play the role of a bad guy, but with a compassionate heart, sometimes we have to. It's easy to play the role of a good guy. 每个人都要做好人嘛，好人很容易做，but to play the role of a bad guy, but with a compassionate heart, it is not easy. It takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of wisdom also. You need to be wise enough, you need to be firm enough, and then to be observant enough what the child needs and what role do I have to play in order to help the child to become a better person. Yeah. So with that, I would like to end my talk this morning. So I hope that I give you a new perspective, and I hope that you learn something today, that you can bring compassion into your family, that you can bring compassion into educating the children. And I really hope that our children grows up to become a better boy, a better girl at home, and in future they can grow up to become a better citizen in the society. So, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Dedication of merits. Let us invite all sentient beings to participate in our acquired merits. Etta vata cha amhehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Etta vata cha amhehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Etta vata cha amhehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Let us dedicate the merits of participating in this wholesome Dhamma activity to our departed relatives and friends. Idang me tinang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang me tinang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang me tinang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.